Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Swish Waterlad podcast. For those who are new to the podcast, Swish is an awesome platform which gives you the opportunity to get a video message from some of your favourite sports stars. It is the perfect gift idea and is very, very affordable. And for the listeners in the UK, in particular London Irish fans who have come on to listen to today's guest, there is a great London Irish lad on Swish in Ben Loader, one of the great lads, and a whole heap of other stars from all around the world. It's been awesome hearing from people who have given it a go, loved what they received back from their sports star. And the best thing about it all is that a large portion of the proceeds do go to Kiwi Kids charities. And don't forget, there is a 10% discount for all Waterlad listeners who use the code WATERLAD. I'll leave a link in the description below, so you just need to click on that. Also, Pure Sport, who are the most tested and trusted CBD oil on the planet, are kindly offering 20% off all their products with the discount code WATERLAD20, so that all of the listeners can be safe from any muscle or joint pain they may have without chewing back some harsh anti-inflammatories. They also have oils specific for your sleep, energy and immunity, distress and calm, or even maybe just your focus. If you're after help in any of those areas, then this is a great place to start. Trust me. Righto, let's get to it. Roll the intro.
What a lad, what a lad, what a lad, what an absolute lad. What a lad, what a lad, what a lad, what an absolute lad.
Oh, what a lad. Well, today I'm honoured to be in the presence of a reality TV star who has recently been on the hit show The Apprentice. But before he was a TV star, he was an Irish rugby god, playing age grade rugby for Ireland before being picked up by Leinster, and he then moved to London Irish where he became a club legend there. And as well as all that, he is one of the most energetic and best lads to be around you will ever meet. It is the great Conor Gilsenan. Welcome, mate.
Jimmy, what an intro. Thank you so much. I need to bring you around to all my networking events and pick me up like that. so good to be here. I genuinely feel like I've got imposter syndrome because you've just had a long list of All Blacks on the show, and then you've just pulled me in of nowhere, just like this absolute this rogue trump card. But look, I'm looking forward to sharing a few stories with you.
Mate, you're one of the biggest lads I played with, so I can't wait to get into this one.
Great, good stuff.
But mate, life post-starring at The Apprentice, what's that been like for you?
It's actually been really good. It's been a whirlwind of emotions. I went in there expecting a lot from it, and incorrectly so. I expected too much. Ended up getting dumped out after 2 weeks. So I was pretty aggrieved after that. I took 12 weeks holidays, unpaid holidays, to go do this thing, so I thought I was going to be in for the long haul. I bought 5 new suits. I only got to wear 3 of them. So I was seething when I came out for like 6 weeks. I just wanted to talk to Long Sugar and be like, you made the wrong call. And then I got over that. And then Christmas kind of came round, and the people who knew about it were like, how are you feeling about it? I started getting quite anxious. I was like, geez, I don't know how I'm going to be perceived here. I've just started a new job. They could make me out to be something I'm not.
Yeah.
So that was quite nervy times. And then when it came out and the week build up to it was actually a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I was getting ribbed from all that. I was loving the limelight, I'll be honest.
Well, we didn't get it here over in New Zealand, which was a bit of a shame. But, mate, I was as shocked as anyone to see that you were out second round. What actually happened?
Okay. What happened? So first task kind of like played it safe, and it was chaos. It was total chaos. 8 guys from all different backgrounds with very strong personalities, and you're thrown together to do this, bordering on impossible task, create a marketing campaign for a cruise liner in 24 hours and then present it to all these experts. So you're just like, it was just a minefield of things that could go wrong, and we tripped on everything we could have gone wrong on. But I managed to kind of like stare at the firing line, and then I was like, you know what? I'm feeling confident after that first round. I'm going to take ownership of this and put myself forward as one of the leaders in the team. And we created this kids toothbrush. And basically what happens is the 7 guys came together. The leader pitched this vision, and I looked after one team and he looked after the other team, and you go away for the day. And then the next day you present what you built. So I built an app for a kid's toothbrush, and he went and built the toothbrush.
Yeah.
And the theme that we went for was like a magical brushing wand. And I was like, I quite liked the concept. I thought the kids would buy into it. It was easy to follow. And he went off and created a product, and the colours they went for were brown. And this is something that like sits in the loo, and it's like kind of resembles the shape of the turd. And then I went away and built an app. And the wizard I call Whiffy the Wizard. And we pitched it to Superdrug the next day, and the guy was like, "Did it ever cross your mind you've created a product that looks like a turd and you've called it Whiffy?" And I'm going, I can't believe this is happening. So, and this is like 5 million people watch this show on a daily basis, and then it goes right up to like 9 when they do the on-demand stuff.
Yeah.
So a lot of people watch the show, and you're going, I can't believe this is happening. I look so silly. But I probably, to be totally honest, I probably shouldn't have been fired. But yeah, these things happen. And so it was a really good fun, great experience, and I'm glad I did it. And it's actually been really good for the business that I've set up with Topsy, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point.
Yeah, and how set up is it on the set? Is it all pretty staged, or is it like it looks?
It's definitely not staged. Like everything you're seeing is real. It's just you're just getting pulled in a lot of different directions, and you are quite restricted in what you can do. Like I can't say too much, but it's put it this way: it's not as easy as it looks. On TV, you're going because you're making these decisions as the day progresses, and you're submitting your answers, and then if something doesn't really make sense as the day goes on, it's very difficult to go back and change it. And then you've got to get so much done throughout the day that like you pretty much can't sense check anything. So like, of course, you go Whiffy the Wizard, and then the next morning you wake up and go, Whiffy's probably not a great name. But like you can't change it, you know what I mean? So, and it makes for great TV. Like it's car crash stuff. And people are like, it couldn't have been that chaotic. I'm like, the editors have actually been kind in it. Like it's actually way more chaotic than they look than they make it out to be.
Right. And were you happy with the way you were portrayed as an individual?
I thought it was fair, yeah. I was really nervous because, they can do whatever they want in the edit, and they were fair. Like I said some stupid stuff, and I got lured into what they're trying to get you to do to play up to the TV, but that's all part of it. Like there was an opening scene, like when I was the first episode. It's a bit of a long-winded story, but it's probably worth telling. So basically, you kind of have to like submit what you're going to wear for the boardroom. Yeah, and you have to stick to that outfit. And I showed up. We went to do these entrance shots the week before we went in, and I showed up, and I'd like changed my shirt and tie like last minute. I didn't really think it was a big deal. We got there, and they were like, "Oh, we have to like kind of stick to what you sent across originally." And I was like, "Okay, fine." So we go through to my entrance shot was at Gatwick Airport, and we went in, and I went and bought like the shirt and tie that I needed basically, and my glasses were like reflecting badly with the cameras, so we needed to like get ones that were like anti-glare, and I hadn't gone and done that. So we went into Sunglasses Hut and because I needed a pair of clear lens aviators to just get me through today, and they just sold me a pair, and I was like, sweet, they'll do the job. So then go do my shots, and then I went to do this like on-screen interview, which was really, really hard. It was like an hour of them asking all these questions, and they're just looking for sound bites, something that makes you look a bit ridiculous, and it's memorable, and it makes for good TV. And you're trying so hard to find a balance between, I want to give them what they want here because you don't want to come across as boring, but equally I don't want this to haunt me for the rest of my life. And I was just, I remember like being like, this is so hard. Like, what have I signed up for here? And I came off the set. I took my glasses off, and the glasses had like they'd gone tinted, and I'm inside, and I'm like, what has happened here? So I obviously got one of these glasses that like react to the UV light and then go turn into sunglasses. And I turned around to the cameraman. I'm like, did you know my the glasses were like tinted there? And he just smiled at me and nodded, and I was like, oh God, I hope it doesn't make the edit. And then the first scene was me saying something like super cheesy, and I'm wearing sunglasses inside, and I'm like, you know what? it can't get any worse than this. So it made watching the next 2 episodes like an absolute breeze after that, to be totally honest.
Oh, that's good stuff. You spoke about sort of regretting going on. What made you want to go on in the first place? How did that whole process happen?
So I've always like been a massive fan of the show, and I always looked at it and been like, I could do a good job of this. I've backed myself to be like quite creative and quite like good in team environments. So I was like, I've done like quite a few startups, and then the experience from rugby, all those things. I was like, I can do a good job of this. And when rugby finished, I was like, given my background and in sport, they tend to like have an ex-sports athlete on there. They always have an Irish person on there. So when I was going through the application process, they were like, why should we pick you? And I said, listen, you always have a washed up sports athlete and a token Irish person on the show. You can kill 2 birds with 1 stone with me. And I think they enjoyed that. But yeah, I just said, look, it's a unique, fun experience. I'm at like a bit of a crossroads of my life in terms of transitioning away from the game. I'm not like into the thick of a new career yet. And I was always going to go set up this business with Topsy. So I was like, at the very minimum, it'd be a brilliant life experience. I'll get some exposure from for the 301. And then, you know, if you go and you win these things, or you go really far, like, you have a really good platform to springboard yourself onto whatever you choose to do after that. So that was my thinking behind it. I knew the risks associated with it, that like you can come across really badly on TV, say the wrong thing that'll haunt you for the rest of your life. But overall, it was really short-lived. It was too short-lived for me to do any of that stuff. Like, I didn't even catch everyone's name. And none of that stuff's happened. And I really enjoyed how it's come out, and I've no regrets. I've no regrets about doing it. Has
anything changed for you post the show?
It's been good for, you know, we've had a lot of inquiries for the bar, which has been great. I didn't lose my job over it, which has been nice. And yeah, I don't know. It's kind of, in a weird way, it's, even though it didn't go well for me, I still like, has given me I've always had a pip in my step, but like an extra pip in my step, you know, one maybe to kind of prove a point that like I'm very capable, and then yeah, you just kind of feel like you got to go make this happen now, right? You got to, like, you've gone set up this business. There's probably a little bit more exposure on it than there normally would be, so it's on my lap to make a success of it and to make a success of myself. So it has given me, applied a bit of healthy pressure, yeah, and it's been a brilliant experience. I enjoy telling the stories from it. You know me, I love a good war story, which has probably been a big part of it.
Do people recognise you on the street?
I got it. I was at a golf weekend with some friends on Saturday in Hertfordshire, and I had a few people come up. One guy comes up to me and goes, "You're that Irish guy Shane from The Apprentice." I'm like, "Man, you got my name wrong." Yeah, I'm that guy. I was like, I'll let you off on that one. Given how short I was in there first. You get a little bit, and then obviously the first game after I got fired on an Irish play at Edinburgh, and it's normally always Topsy getting the attention at the bar, but like this week everyone wanted the photo with me.
Topsy would have been filthy.
Yeah, I know. He loves the limelight, Topsy, but he's getting lots of it, man. He's crushing it in TV stuff over here at the minute. Every time I look at my screen, if it's on BBC, ITV, BT, he's always there. I'm like, I can't get a hold of you to have a chat about the bar. You're too busy on TV all the time.
No, that's awesome. He's doing well. I can't believe you're a reality TV star. How good is that?
I'm not, Gilly.
But before we get too far into it, I do hear plenty of stories about how guys grew up in New Zealand. I sort of know that lifestyle, but first Irish local, I'm really looking forward to hearing what it's like for you growing up in Ireland. That's awesome. An honour to be... It's the first Irish person you've had on the pod. Local. I mean, we've had Jamison Gibson Park, who's now fully Irish, but a few others. But you're the first born and bred. Oh, awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, so I grew up in a rural town called Mullingar, which is like an hour west of Dublin. When I'm describing it to the people from New Zealand who maybe aren't familiar with geography, I'm almost like, if you threw a dart at if Ireland was a dartboard and you threw a dart at it, where Mullingar is at bullseye. So
It's one of the rainiest towns in Ireland. It's got about 20,000 or 25,000 people living there. I had a really, really fond memories growing up there. I grew up in an entrepreneurial household. My mum and my parents are undertakers and publicans. So they were busy juggling two businesses growing up. And that's kind of the crux of it. I played a lot of sport growing up, like Gaelic football, hurling, soccer, rugby, swimming, tennis. Like a lot of parents are, they're kind of busy doing taxi to all these things. And then when I was 12 years old, I shut off the boarding school, but always kept in close contact with Mullingar. And my parents still have the pub, still have the undertaker business. And I'm still very close with a lot of my friends from there. And actually, there's a lot of them who live over here in London with me now. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm from.
Mate, I know you mentioned your friend, and I'm surprised we've got this far without you talking about him, but your good mate Nyle, who will be familiar to a lot of our listeners. When were you guys friends from what age?
Yeah, since we were about 9 or 10, I would say. Maybe even a little bit younger than that. But we both grew up in Mullingar, kind of in the same friendship groups, played a bit of sport together, and then he went on to do literally like took over the world, which is awesome to see. Such a cool thing for someone from Mullingar to achieve such scary heights of success. Pretty inspiring for a lot of people, I think. There are a lot of good musicians from Mullingar. None have managed to get to the heights he have, and I'm not sure if anyone will ever replicate it, because they're pretty unprecedented. But yeah, he left to do the X Factor when he was about 15 or 16, and I actually remember.
Was he only 15?
15 or 16.
Holy.
Maybe. Yeah, he left school when he was 16. But one of my best friends, Stephen Devine, and Nyle, we went to watch Westmeath play in Croke Park. So Westmeath is the county that I'm from, and we play Gaelic football, and I think they were playing Loud or something. It was like a nothing game. We went to watch that, and then he was going off. He was going back there the next day to do the X Factor auditions, and I remember being like, best of luck with that tomorrow, kind of thing. Not really like thinking much would come of it. Like, he was always so passionate about music, and was always doing like the gigs and stuff in town, and was really popular like locally. But next thing I heard, he was like at the judges' houses, and then they went on this crazy run and became the biggest boy band maybe the world has ever seen. Like, I remember watching the Beatles movie with him. Was it the Beatles or Oasis or one of those? Like, you're watching it all happen, and he's kind of sitting there silently watching it, going, "How cool is that?" And I'm like, you done that. You lived that life for a few years. But yeah, he was great. When I moved over to London originally, I didn't really know many Irish people over here. There's an army of us here now. But he took me under his wing, brought me to some really, really cool events, and introduced me to a lot of people, and really helped me find my feet.
Did his success in a reality TV show sort of make you want to do this Apprentice show even more? Was that any part of it?
No.
There's
nothing to do with that at all. But the thing is, the Apprentice is, right, like nobody really gets famous from it. Some people do really well in business off the back of it, but it was described really well to me in the lead up to it. They were like, if this is what you're going on here to do, you've got the wrong show. The attraction is the show, and people love the show. They don't necessarily attach to the people that come off it, that go onto it and come off the other end of it. And that is true, because like those viewership numbers, like 5 million people watched it before in like week 1 and 2, and I think it went up to 5 in week 3. And like, you look at the people who have been on the show, like their Instagram followers are, I don't think anyone's over like 10,000 or that. So it's not translating into each individual's personal brand per se. Certain people who will go far will do well off it, and then it's up to everyone else, the people who crashed out early, to make a good fist of it themselves.
And by all accounts, you were a really good choir singer as well. Did you ever think about going to the X Factor with him?
No, I haven't got a note in my head, man.
You were a choir singer though, right?
Yeah, how do you know that?
That question came in a lot. Apparently you were a wizard.
No, I used to, when I was in primary school, I was in the choir. Well, I wasn't very good. Yeah, I wasn't very good. I enjoy a good sing song and a few drinks on me, but that's about the height of it.
Yeah, okay, but anyway, we'll go back to you mentioned you were really good at a lot of sports. Why rugby and why not the Gaelic football path?
When I was growing up, I think I kind of preferred Gaelic football, and I was probably better at it as well. I played for my local team called Mullingar Shamrocks, and had some unbelievable memories with a bunch of guys that I went through the age group there. We won everything. We won the county championships. There's this tournament called the Fela, and one representative from each county goes to play in this like blitz over 3 or 4 days, and it's in like a small town in Ireland. And they turn it into like a massive festival, and you get like, you're 14 years old, and you get these massive crowds at these games, and you're representing your county, and it's very, very prestigious. So we got to the Fela, but we didn't manage to win it. And then we won like all the county level stuff growing up, 14, 16, minor level. And I was loving my football, but I went to Clongowes, I went to boarding school when I was 13, and it's just like a rugby crazy school. And you just get drawn in from it. Like, again, I don't know if the guys, any of the Irish guys have spoken about it on your pod, but it's crazy the level of professionalism and the attention that the tournaments get, and it's difficult not to get drawn in by it. And yeah, you get drawn into rugby when you're in a school like Clongowes, and we had a really, really good batch of guys in our age group, and we were really successful. So then we won everything. We won Junior Cup trophy, which is the first time our school had won it in like 56 years. And then when I got to the Senior Cup level, we won it 2 years consecutively. And anyone who's from Ireland and like played in that tournament, that's really, really hard to do. So off the back of that, a lot of us got opportunities to go into academies and represent Ireland at age grade level. And when that's knocking on your door, you're obviously going to say yes, and you're going to get drawn towards that because it's offering you a career path. So that was where the decision came from. I've always kind of like been tempted to go back playing Gaelic, but I'm not sure. I had to stop because of my head, so I'm not sure if it allowed me to do that. Yeah, so that's how it kind of all came about. Choosing rugby over Gaelic.
And then you made the Irish junior national sides all the way through, didn't you? So you were a quality player from a young age.
Yeah, well, thanks for the kind words. I don't really know how to take those things. Well, that's a nice way to put it. When I'm knocking around with my school friends, they were like, you peaked when you were 18. It all went downhill from there. Which pretty true, to be totally honest. It all happened for me quite quickly. I was like winning everything in school, like played for Ireland under 18, and then I got to captain Ireland under 19, then went to the 20s World Cup, and it was all happening, and then I didn't really manage to kick on from there, to be totally honest.
So from that you went into the Leinster environment, didn't you?
Yeah.
And what was that like?
That was unbelievable. Like, it's such a good place to learn. It's such a good club, and they've got such a conveyor belt of talent coming through, and it's the academy. Everything about it is just top level. And I'd come out of school. I'd spent all my school years like supporting Leinster. I was a diehard fan. I was over at Murrayfield when they won the first Heineken Cup against Leicester, and I actually ran onto the pitch after the game. I was like the first person on the pitch. And I remember I was weaving in and out of these security guards, and they could not catch me. And there was like people like jump. I was like getting a real rise out of the crowd. And then this one guy got my shoe in the dead ball line. I was kind of going to get out and try and get back in the crowd, and got me, and then some guy came from behind me and stuffed me in the back, and that got like a rapturous response from the crowd. And then they pretty much like arrested me and like took me into the security room, and they were like, "You're in a lot of trouble, son." I was only 16 at the time. I was like, "Oh, here we go. This is a disaster. My dad's gonna be so stressed." I went with my dad, and I was like, they were like, yeah, they're taking this really seriously this year. You're in a lot of trouble. You're going to be spending a night in the clink. And I was going, oh my God, I've never been in trouble with the police before. This is a disaster. And then as time went on, just more and more people, like Leinster fans, started piling into this security room, and they were all pissed up and singing Molly Malone. And it just got too much for them. They were like, just get out. Like, yeah, you're getting away with this one. And it was funny. I got out and I rang my dad, and he was like, Connor, I have a solicitor here. We're looking after you. And I was like, don't worry, Dad. I'm off the hook. So yeah, I'm getting sidetracked there, but basically I was like a massive fan of Leinster growing up. So then to go into this environment, and on the first day you're like shaking hands with Brian O'Driscoll and Leo Cullen and Shane Horgan and these guys, and they're introducing themselves by their first name, and you're like, you really don't need to do that. I know exactly who you are.
You were a massive fan of O'Driscoll, eh?
Oh, I loved him. Yeah, he was all like O'Driscoll, O'Connell, O'Brien, Gordon Darcy, Rob Kearney, all that generation. Like, they were proper role models for me. So to be like rubbing shoulders with these guys, even though like I was in the academy, but you were working in the same place as them every day and getting to see how they do things, and all very approachable people as well. Like, very happy to help you learn. So that was so cool and super inspiring. And you just want to get there. Like, it's just every day you're just trying to get better and trying to prove that like you're capable of making the step up to the first team. And you've got all the tools at your disposal there to do it. Unfortunately, that didn't materialize for me for multiple different reasons, but I had a really good time there, and I learned a lot there, and it definitely stood me in good stead for the rest of my career.
What were those reasons you didn't manage to get a crack with them?
I went from school like straight into the academy with some really, really like class players. I went in that year with Tyke Byrne, Luke McGrath, Tyke Furlong, James Tracy. Like, all these guys have gone on to play for the Lions internationally, and I've had amazing careers. And we had a really good batch of guys, and they were all kind of like my Irish 20s age group as well. I'm forgetting loads of guys there as well, so apologies to anyone there in case they're listening. But we went in there, and our first year was pretty positive for me. I played most of my rugby with the Irish 20s, and we had a good run in the Six Nations. We won our first 4 games, and we were on for a Grand Slam against England, and kind of didn't go well for us in that last game. We got hockeyed in England, which was pretty disappointing, but we're really good throughout the tournament. And then we got to the 20s World Cup that year, and was down in South Africa, and we played the host, and we beat them, and they were like really heavily fancied, and we were like, right, this is on. So we played England the next game, and we were like 14-0 up. Yeah, ended up losing that game, and I went off injured, done a syndesmosis, and I fractured my ankle as well. So that tournament was over, and I missed pre-season. And one of my biggest struggles throughout my whole career was like putting on size. I played in the back row, and I'm not naturally like a well-built unit, like for the show. Like, I'm down to like 88, 90 kilos now.
Welcome to the club.
It's crazy, but yeah. And then my second year in the academy, I played pretty much for my club UCD, and played with the A team at Leinster. We won our tournament that year. It was called the British and Irish Cup, which was the first time we'd done it, and that was a great achievement. And I'd done all right with UCD, but I hadn't managed to get any game time. I wasn't really even close to it in retrospect, getting game time in my second year. So then you like really need to start making inroads in your third year. You need to start showing that you're up to playing men's being, you're capable of putting pressure on the guys who are ahead of me. There was a really good bunch of, like, all of them were international back rowers. But I still was like, if I just get like my foot in the door, I can go in there, I can compete. And started my third year in the academy, and it went pretty well. Like, I had a good pre-season. I was training with the first team, and then I got injured again. Yeah, I got injured again. It's kind of like this narrative repeats itself quite a lot as this goes on. But I got injured again, and a good opportunity. Once I got fit, a really good opportunity came about where I had the opportunity to go down to Connacht and play first team rugby, play like Heineken Cup or Champions Cup rugby, because they had an injury crisis at Openside. And the arrangement was that I'd go down there and do that, but on the pretense that I signed for Leinster the following season on a development contract. And I was like, jackpot. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to get like first team rugby, top tier of European rugby. I'm coming back to the club I love. And I'll come back a better player and a more capable of challenging for Watson and the guys ahead of me. And that weekend, Jordy Murphy and Shane Jennings both picked up like medium-term injuries. Like one of them broke their hand and the other one hurt their ankle. And Matt O'Connor, who was the first-team coach at the time, he was like, no, mate, you can't go down. We're going to be short-staffed at open side. And I did push. I was like, this is, like, for my development, this is really good. But he wasn't too fussed. He was just like, nah, you're hanging around. But they were like, look, there's still going to be a development contract there for you for next season. So just, like, keep progressing the way you're doing and we'll get that sorted. And then I just like naively just didn't go about getting that signed. I just kind of assumed it would be there. And like all things happen in rugby, like things change. And I picked up a more significant injury. I had to get a knee operation a few weeks later. And then that contract wasn't there for me once I got back fit.
Wow.
Yeah, it's kind of felt like you were on the cusp of really like breaking in and on the Irish scene. And then once you get going in there, like they're very much like New Zealand, they're about promoting and holding on to homegrown talent. So yeah, that like in retrospect, if that had happened, maybe gone down, got first team exposure, and then came back to Leinster, things might have been a little bit different. But that didn't play out that way. And then that's when the opportunity came to go to London Irish, and I just jumped at it. I was like, this is awesome, playing Premiership rugby. Go with the connection to the Irish roots, and I'm moving to London as a 21-year-old. It's in terms of a new challenge and an exciting challenge. You don't go much better than that.
And how did you find the London lifestyle?
Loved it, and I still do love it. I'm a big believer that when you get bored of London, you get bored of life. It's got so much going on. I've really thrown myself into the deep end here since I've arrived. It's just such a buzzing city, and there's so much opportunity here. And yeah, it's been great. And I am lucky, like coming over, and London Irish is a really well supported club, and the people who are attached to it like want to see you do well. At London Irish, but also off the pitch as well. And you meet a lot of great people off the pitch as a result of the connection you have to the club. So I've been pretty good at like putting myself out there and trying to make the most of that connection and make the most of the opportunities that London has. And I've loved every minute of it so far. So much so that I managed to get Megan to move over with me, because when I was in Dublin, we dated, and yeah, it's kind of done 2 years of long distance. And then managed to get her to come over, and she loves it as well. So yeah, we're very happily set up here at the moment, and don't see it changing anytime soon. Mate,
love that. And your name's popped up a few times on other guys' podcasts. I mean, Jib talked about you constantly having infections, which probably cost your London Irish career progressing much further than it did. Talk to me about these infections that you constantly had.
Honestly, I never got another pre-jab and post-jab. I never had an infection, so I was just living in a cesspool of Jeb's mess, and he was immune to it. Like, it's his bacteria. So I was suffering. I was going back into this cesspit of Jeb bacteria, and I was getting all these sorts of totally seen. It was like knee infections, and any sort of wound I had, it just seemed to go. It seemed to go south on me. But I had some great housemates when I was at London Irish. When I first moved over, I was put into the academy house with the guy called Ross Neal, who's playing in the States at the moment with Seattle Seawolves. And he had just moved out of school. Like, I just moved out of home, and this is his first time living, like, looking after himself. And that was... I felt like his mother. I was like teaching him how to cook, teaching him how to clean up. Like, everything was back to basics. So that was a fun experience, and he was a really fun guy to live. Never forget. Like, do you ever hear like foxes having sex at night and the noise they make?
Yeah, only when I was over in London.
Yeah, so it's like one of the most like harrowing noises ever. You're like, someone's been murdered outside. I need to go check what's going on here. And I need to go out and check, is everything okay? And everybody looked fine. So like, went into the physio room the next day and explained this to Tom Gallagher, the physio. He's like, mate, it's foxes like having sex. And I'm like, all right, okay, that's fine. But then it kept happening. I couldn't sleep with it, and I was like, back into the physio room. Like, any ideas how to stop the foxes having sex outside my window? But, like, you need to make sure there's like no food outside. That's the way to catch them. So I was like, made sure the back garden was spotless before I go to bed every night. It kept happening, and one night I came down at like midnight to fill up my water bottle or something, and Ross Nial's outside with a plate and a knife, and he's like shoveling all his food onto the floor. I'm like, what the hell are you doing? He's like, I'm feeding the foxes. I'm like, wait, I haven't been able to sleep for like the last 2 weeks. I'm like, you fucking stop doing that. I never really managed to get to the bottom. He played dumb that like he didn't really know what was going on, but I'm pretty sure he was just fucking with me. So he was a fun guy. Like my first week living with him, getting to grips with each other, and it was like 3 of us in the top bedroom. Jared Ellis was the other, our top floor. There was one bathroom shared between us, and I went into the bathroom like unannounced, and Ross is there brushing his teeth, starkers naked, looking in the mirror, and I was like, all right, and I looked down, and I was like, oh, holy shit. It's like, this thing was enormous. I was like, look back up at him, and he goes, yeah, mate, I'm known for that. So, yeah, like that story got around the senior change room quite quickly, and he's built a bit of a reputation for himself at London Irish and every other club he's been to. Wasps, Saracens. I'm sure the Seattle Seawolves lads talk the same in the same breath about it. It's kind of one of these things, you see it once, you'll never forget it.
The first time you met Ross Nial's piece.
Yeah, you'll never forget it. He was the first housemate at London Irish, and then I moved in with Jeb, and we could almost dedicate a whole second episode to living with Jeb. What a character. You do, like, the stories do get repetitive, but the first year living with him was just, I'd cramps in my stomach every night listening to all these stories. And then the second year, he's like, I remember back in 2009 when I was on tour with Canada, I was like, Jeb, you told me this story last week. Me and Herney, man, we were hacking darts out the hotel window. And I was drinking with Cudmore, and I was like, oh man, you told me this story 100 times. So that was good. We had really good fun living together there. And then I moved in with Steely, and he was just the best housemate ever. Like, I think he's had quite a few different like housemates through rugby, and like, I think everyone just would speak so highly of him. Got himself in some sticky situations on the piss, which he's digressed on this podcast. I don't want to repeat any of the stories. Literally some sticky situations, and then some sticky situations with the repercussions of them. But he was awesome as well. We had a lot of fun living together, and yeah, I enjoyed cleaning up the pieces that he left for me sometimes.
Mate, must have always been entertaining living with both of those guys.
So good. Like, Steely is always the most popular guy in the change room. So like, it was always so busy. We always had guys around watching football and the rugby on Friday nights and after parties and all the rest. It was always the destination. And luckily the couple that we had living downstairs were like quite a bit older than us. So when we moved in, we're like, geez, we don't really know what the go here is. And then the guy Pierce is like a DJ. So like he'd be constantly throwing house parties and like DJing midweek, and we obviously wouldn't kick up sticks. We knew we were stacking up brownie points. A couple of times like midweek he'd like come knocking on the door. He'd be like, oh mate, he's like, I'm so sorry about last night, like got a bit of hand. We're like, don't worry, we'll get you back. So we had some good fun. And actually one summer we had like a festival on Victoria Park in London, and we had about 40 people in the apartment, and Pierce got brought the decks outside and threw like a bag and house party. We went to the festival, came back at like 1 o'clock, and he got the decks out again, and we went right through till 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning. Literally the neighbour of dreams. Like, it was so much fun. We lived on the same road as Brendan McKibben. He was one of the, like, I love the podcast he did, and he was another person who was just like the glue in the changing room all the time he was there. So we had a good little drinking crew, and then Greg Tonks was like one row down from us as well. It was a collection of lads, as you would say, and we had a lot of fun. And one of my favourite memories, kind of from my time in London Irish, is we used to do pre-match meal the night before every game. We'd cook a massive spag bol, like an obscene amount of food, and then we'd have a massive dessert spread, and then we'd watch whatever rugby was on that night. And it became like a ritual. But the bad thing that came out was, like, I wasn't in the team every week, but I was still smashing all these calories. So I was just like ballooning as like the same as like as many of the other guys who weren't playing week in, week out. We were just getting bigger and bigger. And Robbie Palmer was like, why are your skin folds so like worse aggressively every time we do this? But like the penny dropped when I kind of like that kind of broke up when a few guys left the club and we stopped doing it. We were a bit more professional about what we were eating the night before games, and the skin folds were a lot more consistent after that.
Oh, mate. One of my favourite stories with you was heading to the Joseph Parker fight over in Wales at a sold-out Millennium Stadium. One of the great nights. What do you remember about that one?
It really was. I feel like we really bonded on that trip, and our relationship went from strength to strength after that. You got me on a bit of a dark path with gambling, it must be said, Jimmy. I didn't know what a bet was, and then we got into the trotting. We were like, oh man, there's good money to be made in this New Zealand trotting. I'm like, right, what do I need to do? You're like, you need to set up a Betfair account. It's like, I'll give you all the tips, 50-50 on the winnings. Then like 6 weeks later, my account got shut down, and I've never managed to get a handle on it ever since. But that Joseph Parker fight was something else. So I went down with a bunch of friends from home: Ty Byrne, Sam Coughlin-Murray, Jamie Davis, and Adam Clark, and maybe Jordan Coughlin as well. 5 guys who I played rugby with back in Dublin. And Tig was playing with Scarlets at the time, and they were in the European Cup quarter final on the Friday night. Yeah, so we went to watch that on the Friday night, and then we're like rolling into AJ Parker and the Millennium Stadium on Saturday, like the weekend of dreams.
Yeah.
And we get down, we get in a taxi into the stadium, and I end up having a massive Barney with one of my mates with Jamie. I can't even remember what it was about. It was something stupid. We used to be at each other's necks all the time. We lived together. Yeah. And we ended up getting a shoot fight, and it just caused a bit of ag walking into the stadium. And we got into the stadium, and I see you, is it Jamison was there?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, go over a beer with you guys. And the lads are like, right, we're going to go up to our seats. And we had bought our tickets that week for like 16 quid a head. Literally in the last row in the corner. They were like the worst seats in the house. We were just going for the buzz. And I was like, I'm going to stay here, have a drink with the lads, cool off, and I'll meet you up there. Yeah. So you were like, your mate didn't show up or something. You had like ringside tickets, basically.
I think Banksy got upgraded to something, because it was supposed to be me, Jamison Gibson Park, and Marty Banks, and Banksy ended up going to an even better seat. He must have been ringside because of his profile, but we were still in pretty good seats, and had that extra one for you to jump on.
Yeah, we're in the lower tier, like a few rows back, and you were like, come watch a couple of the prelims with us. And I go down, like, watch one of the fights. It's like, you can hear every punch. There's people being chucked out of the ringside seats because there's like scrapping going on. It's like box office stuff. And it's like 2 fights out from the main event. The boys are calling me, and I'm like, oh, fuck it, I'm not going up there. So I turned my phone off and just like, I'm a terrible bloke, but they do the same thing in this situation. And we had the best time. I was on AJ, you were on Parker.
Yeah.
And we punched every punch with them. It was a pretty crap fight. It went the distance, didn't it?
Went the distance, yeah.
And I was surrounded by loads of Kiwis, but it was such good fun. And then the shitstorm happened when I came out and I turned my phone on. I had so many voicemails from the blood lads been like, "You've changed since you moved to London, like you're dead to us. You can go sleep with your London Irish friends tonight. You're not coming back to the apartment." I was like, oh fuck. But then it gets worse actually. I think Will or you had organised with the bouncer and walkabout, giving them a heads up that we were coming, and the queue was like an hour long, and we were walking up and the guys had been spitting venom at me on these messages, so I was like, well, we're just going to have to let that situation cool down until tomorrow. And we walked straight past the lads in the queue and they're at the back and you can see they're like, no fucking way. Breeze straight into walkabout. And then the groveling messages start coming in and being like, oh, sorry, man, come on, let's just forget about that. Come out here and get us in, will you? So I went back out. It was all hugs and kisses, and it was all forgotten about. But yeah, we're still all best friends, thankfully. But I definitely treaded the line on that occasion.
Mate, one of the great nights. Oh, mate. But what I do want to speak about your playing career at London Irish as well. I mean, I think you played around 60-odd games.
Not much to talk about, Jimmy.
Why do you reckon your career didn't quite progress like it probably could have or should have? Because, mate, every time you played, you went well. You got stuck into everything. You just felt like you never really got the opportunities or badly timed infection.
Yeah. I honestly, I don't know. Like, if I had the answer, I'd sell it to every other player that's trying to break it, and none of them could afford it. Like it'd be the secret recipe. There's no silver bullet with these things. Like I really did think I did everything right. I was very committed. I was very passionate about what I did. I took my job very seriously. I think I was a good teammate. I was very selfless how I did things. Like, I literally gave it everything, and that's one thing I can take solace in, is that like I didn't leave any stone unturned.
Yeah.
But it just didn't happen for me. You know, it was like, it was a couple of times where I kind of broke in, like my first season at London, like that first season in the academy, Irish 20s, like sky's the limit, couple of setbacks, got over to London Irish, played 21 times my first season, played all the big games after Christmas, and then I got a concussion, I was out for a little while. Then I didn't really click with Tom Coventry, you know, that's just personal preference. I think that happens to a lot of people in their careers, they don't click with coaches.
Yeah.
And then Kendo and Brendan Venter came in and you joined, and I got on really well with those guys. They really valued what I brought to the environment. Didn't play as much as I would have liked to in the first season because of EQP stuff, and Blair was ahead of me, and you know, rightfully so. But I still like captained the side on a few occasions, and then the second season was going well. You know, was kind of in the match day squad for all the start of the season, and then I blew my AC joint, and that had happened actually under Tom Coventry as well. So I'd done the left one, was out for a while, then kind of the right one went on me, and then that season was kind of stop start. I did get through the season, but I was walking wounded. I had like a shoulder pad up to my ear. I was actually thinking of patenting the shoulder pad I made. It was brilliant. It done a job, and I was making them for other guys in the team who had AC problems as well. But yeah, and then they left. Those coaches left, and then Declan came in, and the first season they brought you know, for whatever reason they obviously didn't see me as like an out and out kind of first choice 7, and they felt the need to bring TJ, and I thought we were pretty well stocked, and we had Max who'd done pretty well the previous season, and Blair, but they brought him in, and then game time was hard to come by that season. But I got kept on for another year, and then the following year was again started the season really well, had a good pre-season, and and then got a knock in the head, and that was it. Lights out. It was funny. Like I always showed big promise in pre-season because I loved running, and I trained really hard, and I'd always look and feel really good going into the season, and kind of typically at the start of the season I'd be in the mix for playing a good bit, but I just wasn't durable. That's the bottom line, and I think there's a lot to be said for people who show up every week, can play through injuries and do it at a reasonably high level, and I just wasn't able to do that consecutively. So while I wasn't flavour of the month with some of the coaches, sometimes I just didn't really even give them the headache that they needed to put me in the equation all the time. But when I look back on it retrospectively, kind of as a teenager, you're exposed to the opportunity to play professional rugby, and that's all you want to do. That's your dream job.
Yeah,
I've done it for 9 years. It's not bad. It's not what I set out to do. I set out to go and play for Leinster and play for Ireland and win all the stuff that the guys who I went into the academy with have gone on to win. But I still had a lot of fun doing it. I loved the process of being a professional rugby player. I was very proud to call myself a professional rugby player. I was very proud to be associated with the clubs I'd done it with, and the overriding feelings that I look back and I would a lot of pride in and how it played out.
And was that head knock that you talked about, was that a career ender? Yeah.
So I played against Bayonne in November 2019 in a 5-man line out, and just big ball carrying back row. Just kind of, it was just a big, just ran up. It was a good collision, and he just kind of shoulder hit me in the temple, and it was. I had a pretty clean slate. I had that concussion when I first moved over to London Irish, but by and large, I was pretty good in the lead up to that. And that just knocked me for 6. I was having all sorts of problems that I'd never really encountered before, like balance and mood and headaches and everything else that goes with concussion. It's pretty well documented. But touch wood, I'm in a pretty good place with it now. My health is really good, and I'm not restricted. How I go about life on a day-to-day basis, I'm capable of working. I just can't play contact sports, so it's probably a blessing in disguise. Your body takes enough battering when you play rugby, so it's just not even a possibility.
How long did those symptoms last of the concussions, and what was that sort of process like to announce your retirement and confirm that it was a career ender?
So I got the knock in November, and then I kind of retired August, September the following year. And when those things happen and you're going through the problems that you're going through, you always kind of in the back of your head, it's a possibility, right? It's the same with any big injury. There's no guarantee you'll get back from these things. So I was still pretty optimistic that I'd turn it around, and I kind of would make progress and then try the new stage of the return to play protocol, but just kept on stumbling, and it would set me back significantly each time. But then when they announced it, it was a bit of a grieving process, but loads of nice messages, and some of the people that like I said, I remember all my ex-teammates just saying really nice stuff and dropping in memories that we had together, and that was really nice. And then some of the guys that I looked up to growing up, dropping the emails and stuff, was pretty. It was cool. It was a weird year to finish, and I think there's a lot of people in the same boat as me, so I'm not looking for sympathy, but it was COVID, right? So there was there's no end of season bowl, there was not even a send off piss up or anything like that. There was nothing going on at the stadium. So it was a bit rubbish that way. But everyone in the world, same thing. There's people graduating from college and school and stuff that people weddings cancelled, so it's you're not insulated from that sort of stuff. That was how it finished, and then I got a camper van with my girlfriend Meg, and drove around the south coast of France together. And she was in between jobs at the time as well, and it was just a really nice way to kind of process it all, kind of reflect. I was actually looking back on it, going, that was fun. That was, it was a great experience. Now it's time for the next chapter of my life, try and map out what that's going to look like, and then threw myself into a startup role or a new role in a tech startup in sales, because I always felt that that's kind of where my sweet spot would lie. I've done that for a year, really enjoyed it, learned a lot, and then went to do the Apprentice. That was short lived, and then I actually had a bit of an ether, kind of like it was Apprentice finished. I kind of booked off this time, so I went home and spent some time with my parents, and I wasn't very busy. I had too much time to think, and that was probably actually when the penny dropped at how much I missed rugby, and probably a little bit of a, everyone's made aware that transition is really hard, and it's a big part of your identity, and so many people love doing it, and I was definitely one of those people. But the year that had gone by, I was like, it's not that bad. Like, I was like, I'm still chat to the boys, like, I don't feel totally removed from it. I'm busy. I spent last summer in a camper van in the south of France, as opposed to a pre-season. I was like, this is fine. But then when you pause and you're like, I hadn't found exactly what I wanted to do next. Like, the bar wasn't up and running, or I hadn't started this new job, and you're like, crap, like, what's next? I thought I had all this figured out, and like, evidently I don't. So that was a bit crap, but just dust yourself down and just put yourself out there and go again. And then we got the green light to do the 301 from Brentford, London Irish, and then it was 6 weeks. I think about 6 weeks from the day we got to go ahead to the first game we were going to do, and that was brilliant fun. Like, me and Topsy, like Del Boy and Rodney, like going around trying to get this bar ready. We're setting up bank accounts, like doing test runs with the horse box and the Land Rover. The wheel fell off the horse box, and then we got that up and running. And then I started interviewing for jobs, and then luckily got a job with an amazing company called FIS. It's like a Fortune 500 company. It's in the fintech space, so it's a really exciting area to work in. That there's massive career opportunity in it, and yeah, I'm busy. I'm in a really good spot now, actually, which is great.
Is that the dream, to go up the tech space rankings?
Yeah. Why did I pick tech? Well, my girl, like Megan's, been in tech sales pretty much whole life, and a lot of my friends have done really well in it. It always just seemed like a career path that you can get into with, doesn't have massive barriers to entry, and there's a lot of money to be made in it if you're good at it. So that was the incentive to get in there, and at the moment it feels like the right thing. I'm starting to speak the lingo. I'm starting to get it, and I'm well able to chat to people. So that's half the battle. But then there are some, like, a lot of transferables with the discipline, and it's very, very important. Like, when I played rugby, like, I was very good at, like, going to Pilates and doing my recovery and getting those extra weight sessions in to keep the body mass up, and all those things are applicable to work or in sales, but they're slightly different. It's industry reading, it's getting your cold calling done, it's having good hygiene and in your CRM where you manage all your deals. So there is crossover. It's just figuring out what those transferable skills are. So yeah, and the other thing about it is that, like, one of the special things about playing professional rugby is you're in a change room in an environment where, by and large, everyone wants to be there, and everyone's made a lot of sacrifices and worked really hard to be there. It's an elite environment. Like, everyone is striving for those 1% to get better, and that's special. That's cool. It keeps you on your toes. It's a healthy pressure. And from what I've seen so far in FIS, it's by and large just everyone's kind of in the same boat. They're just doing it in a different career. Like, incredibly driven group of people. The ones, it's 55,000 people, right? So I haven't met anyone. I've been exposed to a handful of people, but they're all at the top end of what they do, and always looking for ways to get better, as an organisation and as individuals. So that's cool. Yeah.
And for the 301 bar, where do you see that one going? Do you just see it as a side hustle? Do you see that as something that's going to take over the world?
It won't take over the world. that's for sure. Because, well, I'd like it to, but it's a mobile bar at the end of the day. But it has the potential to be a really, really good business. So Topsy and I, very fortunate to have the platform that London Irish have given us to start the business, and that's been great. Like, the London Irish fans have been so supportive so far. We've had some great days down there, some really cold days, like doing it in November and the depths of December was tough, but we're out the other side of that now. Like, you're seeing it come up on the Instagram, all the fans like putting up stories and saying how much they enjoyed it. So that's wicked. Like, it makes it all worthwhile. And the great thing about having a tenancy at a sports stadium is that they play sports in the winter, and the high season for these events is summer. And we're busy at work at the moment trying to fill that calendar with sports festivals, with food and music festivals, with booze festivals. And it's a challenge. It's very tricky. Like, we've got these opportunities and we're going, right, Topsy's schedule is stacked, like, with TV stuff. I'm working a full-time job that's very demanding. It's a two-man band, and we've got some great staff to help us on game day, but we probably need someone to bridge that gap in terms of, like, from an operations standpoint. So we've got the demand is there, which is reassuring, but figuring out a bridge, like a bridge to get to be able to satisfy that demand is kind of what we're working through at the moment. But it is a side hustle, and I think it will probably remain that way. But it'll hopefully be a lucrative side hustle, and one that very importantly keeps us really connected to rugby, because Topsy will stay connected to it regardless because he's a legend. But it's a nice outlet for me to go there. I said that, I was like, there's just like no way this ever would have happened without Topsy. Forget about me like 5 minutes after I walked out the door.
Well, it does sound like a good bar though, and I'm looking forward to getting over there one day, back to the stadium and trying out the 301 bar.
Jimmy, it'd be epic. One of the things that we're pushing really hard with the club, and they're really supportive of it, is we want this to be like to be an outlet for ex-players to come back and attach themselves to the club, because there have been so many like amazing players that have gone through the club and done great things there, and then there's probably been a little bit of a disconnect in terms of opportunities to come back and really support the club afterwards. And so, what we've trying to do is like each week we have like an ex-player, club legend come down and like mix with the fans, and they get looked after by the club at the game, and it's working really well. The fans love it, the club are really supportive of it. We just want to build that up more and more, so instead of it just being one player coming down to each week, we've got 10 ex-players coming down. That's the place where they come to connect, do business and stay connected to the game. So that's all part of the process as well.
Mate, that sounds awesome, and love seeing players go out there and try their own little side hustles like that. It's awesome to see. But as always, we've gone to our Instagram for some questions, and mate, when reality TV stars come on the show, plenty of questions come in, even though you are our first. But first question, ask him about the sweat gate when he was VIP at Wimbledon.
Okay, it's a long-winded story. Okay, so Nyle messaged me being like, do you want to go to Wimbledon today? It was the first day of the tennis, and I said, absolutely, yeah, 100%. And he goes, okay, put on something nice, like we're being looked after. And I was like, grand, I dress fancy here. So looked at my wardrobe, I had like nothing appropriate. It's like, right, got a blazer there, white t-shirt, pair of chinos, I kind of make that look good. So throw all that on, not taking into account for the fact that it's like 33 degrees outside and it's humid in London, right? You know what the summers are like here.
Yeah.
It's hectic. So he's like, right, meet me outside this gate at like this time because we're going in then. He's like, cool, I'll do that. And I jump in a taxi and traffic is chaos getting in there. I'm like, come drop me outside gate 1, and he's like, look, it's just around the corner here, gate 1 is there. Like, cool. So I go around the corner, and it's like gate 16, and it's like 5 to 12. I'm like, shit. I look at my phone on Google Maps, and it's like a 15-minute walk away. I'm like, shit. I don't want to, I'm a guest, so I don't want to cause any hassle like getting in and
Yeah.
all the rest that goes with it. So I start like sprinting. I'm running around. I'm like, actually a nice breeze here. Like I'm really fit. Like I don't sweat that much. It should be fine. I get there and we go into this lounge, and then it's like it's sweat like you've never seen before. It's just bucketing out of everywhere. I'm so uncomfortable. It's like dripping out my eyebrows. And we had this South African hostess, and she was like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "I'm a fan trying to cool me down. I'm so flustered." Nyle and Willie, our mate, were like stitches laughing at me. And I'm like, right, I'm gonna go to the toilet, like try and sort this out. So like, have myself down, like kind of get a handle on it, go back down, sit on this like leather stool, and have a few like cocktails. And so starting to like regulate my body temperature, and I'm feeling good about the day again. And I'm like, right, I've turned this around. And then she's like, right, we're going to go out to centre court for the game. I jump up and I like walk out. She's like, oh my God, Conor, oh my God, Conor, you might want to go to the toilet. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, turn around, the lads are like on their hands and knees pretty much laughing at me. She's like, your bum. And I was like, what are you talking about, bum? So I run into the toilet, like, check my rear end, and I'm wearing beige Cheetos, and like, right from like the top of my ass crack right down to my crotch is just like the worst swamp arch you've ever seen in your life. It was humiliating. And then Willie comes in and he's like, what's the problem? I'm like, I can't, I'm done, I'm going home. Like, this day is just done. Like, I'm not done. He's like, no, it's fine. Just tie the blazer around your waist and be grand. And then I'd done that. I just remember like going out and I had like a massive sweat patch here, like two huge ones here. And Niall's walking ahead and he's getting packed and I'm getting caught in the backdrop and his gun. I just remember like sitting watching the game and I was like real like down here trying to like ventilate my heart, so I wasn't able to enjoy it at all. I kept saying, I was like, can I just leave? Like, this is so unenjoyable. They wouldn't let me know. I was their entertainment for the day.
Oh, that is so good. What a yarn. Blair Cowan, thanks for sending that one in. He never disappoints. But he's also got another one here. Ask him about the time he made an outrageous false accusation that Halani kicked him in the head.
Oh, yeah, that's a training ground yarn. It was like, it's one of those horrible drills. You're in like a 10 by 10 grid and it's 8 on 8 and it's pick and go and it's just hell. It's a pretty spicy training session. And there was a pod set up like a couple of meters away from the breakdown, and Halani went in at halfback to pop it to them, and like I should have just let Halani was very skillful. I should have just let him pop it to them and get on with it. For some reason, I was like, no, I'm a much better passer off the deck than Halani. So I like pushed Halani out of the way. He was 130 kilo target. I gave the ball, and I'm down over the ball, and he roots me in the arse as hard as he can, and like nearly like sends my testicles into my mouth. Like, it was so painful. And I turned around, I was like, you fucking God. And I tried to hit him. And I was like, what's going on? I'm like, you fucking kicked me in the head. Kicked me in the head. It was like, we didn't, you kicked you in the arse. So then that haunted me for like a year or two. Like, lad, you kicked me in the head. Like, that's all everyone used to say to me. Anytime we went into like that 10v10 drill, the lads got great mileage out of it.
Oh, mate, it didn't take much over there, eh? You did one wrong move like that and it sticks forever.
Honestly, yeah, these things follow you around.
Okay, next one. How much does he love a turtleneck out of 10?
I do love a turtleneck. I was actually wearing a turtleneck at work today, and I was going to go straight and wear the turtleneck. I was like, oh, it's a good luck wearing a turtleneck on a rugby podcast. So that's why I was a couple of minutes late. I was changing my turtleneck. So kudos to you, Jebediah. You got me again. They're all the go. They're all the go in London at the minute. I tell you that. He can't pull me up on fashion stuff. Anyways, I used to get called the worst dresser in the squad. And all those like quick fire questions, but it was Jeb every day of the week, or Jeff Cross, one of those two.
Yeah, you had good fashion sense, didn't you?
Thanks, mate.
You could pull it off. I like that. Okay, next one. What's your favourite Nile song?
What's my favourite Nile song? Slow Hands is his best one. Or like in terms of like, it's just been an absolute. It's another song that's taken over the world. So yeah, that'd probably be it.
Did you prefer him solo or in One Direction?
I think he's an incredible solo artist. Like I went to see him to play in the Greek in Los Angeles a couple of years ago, and it was, of course, you have the personal affinity there, but it was definitely the best gig I've ever been to. Incredible. Like this outdoor theatre. He sold it out, I think, 2 or 3 nights in a row. I went to every one of it. I went consecutively each night, like. But he's an awesome artist and really, really good live. But I had some great nights at 1D as well, in the O2. But yeah, probably Slow Hands. His new album, Heartbreak Rider, was class. He never got to tour it because of COVID, which was a real shame. But it was really cool. He was like rehearsing in a studio in Wandsworth with band, and he invited me and Megan down. It was the two of us sitting on the couch, like 2 meters away from me. Played the whole set through, and it was just like money can't buy this. Like, it's just so fucking cool. And I was good at for him that he didn't get to tour that, but I think he's writing a new album at the moment. It's going to be good.
Nice. You should feature on it. What song did you sing when you did your pedal for London Irish up the front of the bus?
So I sang Angels by Robbie Williams.
Oh, did you?
And didn't get paddled, even though like typically you do because it's such a cliche song. I've done a good job of it. And then Tom Court got up and sang some song, and it was bombing so badly. And I, being the good teammate that I am, I jumped in and tried to help him, and then he ended up getting off the paddle and I had to go and do it. Yeah.
I'm surprised you got off. You're one of those guys who I'd imagine no matter how well you sang, you were getting paddled.
Yeah, I did a good job of it.
Mate, you must have a good voice.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Okay, next one. Ask him about Jebediah's room in Sunbury when he had a scrap with Darren Ellison and there was blood everywhere. Oh,
yeah. Yeah, Daz has like a cauliflower after a game. We went there, had a couple of beers in Sunbury. We came back and just me and Daz just ended up like wrestling on the ground, and it was pretty intense, and I ended up ripping his cauliflower open, and it just was a mess. It was like a crime scene. It was like cream carpets everywhere. It was a total disaster. I don't think the lads got their deposit back as a result of it.
Oh, Daz, he was a lad. Okay, what's the thing you missed most about playing footy?
So, like I said earlier, I love the process of being a player. Like the training, like the feeling of just been pushing yourself to the limit and feeling great about it and looking after yourself. And that was something I really, really enjoyed. I loved the camaraderie that came with the team, with the changing room. And then, of course, playing games. But I don't miss the games that much.
Yeah.
I was one of those guys, I did get very wound up around games. I put a lot of pressure on myself and always incredibly sore after them. So more, I probably missed the training and the lifestyle and the lads more so, the crack around the changing room, but that can't last forever, right?
Yeah.
No. Would you be the same? Do you miss the game?
No, I don't miss the games at all, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just remember you just used to love the constructing the attack plan and the detail we go into, and like we were literally like some of the games we would have lost by like 40 points, and like we're on the bus home and you'd have the laptop out and be like I'd be like, mate, like just put it away, like we've just got home. I remember there was one game, I think it was Sail away, and we ran this play where we hit down the middle and I had like a blocking role to play. It was against Northampton away, and I came on for like 10 minutes and it was a close game. I think we only might have lost by a score.
Yeah.
And My role was to block the first defender at the breakdown, so he'd like move away from the breakdown. I kind of step in his line, and then we shoot through. And I missed my role, like I just didn't block him well, and the pass went to hand, and then he made the tackle. And like if he didn't, there was no fullback to be seen. And I remember like I knew I fucked up, and you were like, Gilly. You're like. I reckon I was like, yeah, I know, Jim, I know I fucked up. But yeah, I always just thought, I was like, you're just going to go on to be an awesome rugby coach, so I'm glad to hear you're still in the environment.
Oh, mate, it's nice to hear. Okay, back to you. Next question. Where are Ireland going to finish at the Rugby World Cup?
It looks really promising at the moment. They look so good. They're just so many different points of attack. They're so like they're very unpredictable about how they do things and they move the ball really well. So I just think it looks really, really positive. But we do have a really nasty habit of peaking 2 years out and then not delivering on the big stage. So hopefully Andy Farrell can channel this optimism and kind of carry it through and keep making them better between now and the World Cup.
100%. Anyways, it is going to be an awesome World Cup. Looking forward to that one. But last question for the Gilmeister. Best piece of advice you have for a What a Lad listener?
I've always been like quite a worrier. Like definitely when I look back on my time playing rugby, I overthought like everything, and like I get like wound up about small niggly injuries that didn't deserve as much thinking time and anxiety that I gave them, and worry about like contract situations, and I'd worry about transitioning even though it was miles away, and that it's just wasted energy. I know it's a hard thing to do, but if I'm starting to get better, I still do overthink things a lot, but I do look at some of my friends that like definitely don't do that, and I'm quite envious of it. I'm working towards that at the minute. So yeah, just like try not to dwell on the small things, and worrying really is wasted energy. I know it's impossible to avoid it at times, but if you come up with some coping strategies, or just trying to rationalise what's actually important and what deserves your time or your energy, and worry more often than not, most things don't deserve it. So that would be, just try and not worry about things too much and enjoy life while you can, right? Because that's very, very important.
100%. And what a way to finish the podcast. Some of the best advice we've had on the podcast to date.
Yeah.
But it has been a pleasure to have you on. Absolute legend, someone I did love playing with over at London Irish. We had some good times over there. And you're a man who has been involved in a lot of stories that we've had on from some of the lads already. So it's been awesome to get you on and hear your side of things, and awesome to see what you're doing post-footy and hearing how that transition went. So, mate, it's been awesome insight into your journey, and really appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Thanks so much, Jimmy.
You are a lad.
Cheers, bud. Bye-bye.